What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to Not Your Average Meta, an MTG Commander channel dedicated to bringing you decks and commanders you wouldn't normally find in your average meta. This week's video is brought to you by our new channel sponsor, International MTG. If you're looking for competitive pricing on your favorite MTG cards, old and new, be sure to check out the International MTG store and TCG Player, link in the description of this video. This week on Not Your Average Meta, we finally reached the last game of Season 2, which is going to be featuring an appearance from somebody we've never played a game with before. First up this week, we have Eric playing Kodama the West Tree for a second week in a row. This deck looks to pump up creatures with +1/+1 counters in order to take advantage of his commander's ability to let him run over his opponents with trample damage. Next, we have a newcomer to the channel named Wade. Not only is he making his first appearance on Not Your Average Meta, but he's also making his first appearance at the Hobby Horse. He's going to try to pick up a big win in his debut game playing his Mardu Good Stuff deck being led by Queen Marchesa. Then we have Fograw back playing his unstoppable force that is Reki the History of Kamigawa. Much like in all the other Reki games of this channel, this deck is looking to cast as a commander, then cast legendary spells and draw into a win con. Finally, we have Justin returning playing his own Marchesa deck, but it's Marchesa the Black Rose. This deck looks to slowly deal damage to himself so he can take advantage of his commander's dethrone granting ability in order to get a ton of reoccurring ETB value off his creatures. Now that we're fighters, let's step into the Thunderdome and see which deck will come out on top. Turn 1, Wade plays a Plains for turn, then casts a Weathered Wayfarer. Fog draws, plays a Forest, and then passes. Justin draws and plays a tapped Drowned Catacombs for turn. Eric plays a Forest for turn, then pays 1 for an Elvish Mystic. Wade plays an Urza Saga for turn, then passes. Fog draws and plays a second Forest for turn and also passes. Justin draws and plays a Swamp for turn before paying 2 for a Talisman of Dominance. Eric draws and plays another Forest before tapping out to cast Nissa's Pilgrimage in order to go get a Forest for play and another for his hand. On his instep, Wade uses his Wayfarer to go find a land from his library. Wade draws and plays an untapped Clifftop Retreat before paying 1 for a Goldhound and an additional 2 for a Lion Sash. Fog draws and plays a third Forest before tapping out in order to cast his commander Reki. On his instep, Justin taps his Talisman and loses a life to cast Consider. He then looks at the top card of his library and puts it in his graveyard before drawing a card. Justin draws for turn and then plays a Command Tower before tapping out to cast his commander Marchesa. Eric plays another Forest for turn, then pays 2 for Sakura Tribuilder. On his instep, Wade sacks his Hound for a mana and again activates his Wayfarer to go get another land. On his upkeep, Wade sacks his Saga to go get a Mana Crypt and draws for turn. Wade then plays a Command Tower for turn and taps out to cast his commander, Queen Marchesa, becoming the Monarch. He then draws on his instep. Fog draws for turn and plays Gaia's Cradle before paying 2 to cast an Eye of Vecna, losing 2 life and drawing 2 cards. Justin draws and plays a Nesting Grounds for turn before paying 3 for a Bastion of Remembrance, creating a 1/1 human token. Justin then goes to combat and swings Marchesa Eric, who blocks with his Tribuilder and sacks him to go get a land while Justin puts a 1/1 counter on Marchesa. Second main, Justin casts a Humble Defector and passes. Eric draws for turn then taps out to cast Lurking Predators for 6 mana. On his upkeep, Wade wins his Mana Crypt roll and draws for turn. He then plays another land before paying 3 to cast Mask of Grizzlebrand while Eric reveals a land. He then pays 3 to equip his commander with the mask and then swings him at Justin, revealing a land, only dealing 3 damage. Fog draws for turn then plays another Forest before paying 4 to cast Renata, Called to the Hunt, drawing a card while Eric reveals a sorcery. Justin draws and activates his Defector to draw 2 more cards, giving the Defector to Fog. He then casts a Talisman of Indulgence while Eric again doesn't reveal a creature. Justin then pays 4 to cast a Thundering Raju, and Eric reveals an enchantment. Justin then goes to combat swinging his commander and Raju at Wade. This then deals 1 damage to each of his opponents and puts a 1/1 counter on his Raju. Wade doesn't block and Justin then becomes a Monarch. He then draws on his instep. Eric draws and taps out to cast Turn Timber Symbiosis, which has him looking at the top 7 cards of his library before putting to play a Mana Gorger Hydra with an additional 3 +1/+1 counters. On his upkeep, Wade loses his Crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He then draws for turn and plays a Plains before tapping out to cast Farewell, exiling all permanents in play. Wade then casts a Zulaport Cutthroat and passes. Fog draws for turn then plays another Forest before tapping out to recast his commander. Justin draws and plays a Mountain before paying 2 for a Talisman of Creativity. He then pays another 3 for a Magus of the Wheel before passing. Eric draws and plays another Forest, tapping out for Nyx Bloom Ancient. Wade draws for turn then taps out to recast his commander, becoming the Monarch again. He then goes to combat swinging out at Justin. Justin then blocks Marchesa, causing the table to each lose a life while Wade gains a life from the Cutthroat. Wade then plays an untapped Sacred Foundry, paying 2 life, and casts a Voldaren Epicure, draining the table for 1 life while he creates a blood token and draws on his end step. Fogg draws and plays a forest before paying 3 for Galanor, Caller of Wildwood, drawing a card. He then pays another 2 for Vivian's Arcbow, drawing a card. He then pays an additional 2 for Joriel, Mawabi Recluse, drawing another card. Justin draws and plays another mountain for turn. He then pays 5 for a Cavalier Flame, discarding 3 cards and drawing 3 cards when he enters play. Eric draws for turn, then pays to cast an Entwined Tooth and Nail, going to get an Ancient Brass Dragon and an Averbrock Caretaker to put into play from his library. He then casts a Green Sun Zenith for 4 to go get a Beast Whisperer to put into play. Eric then casts his Commander, drawing a card, and then casts an Endurance to put his graveyard on the bottom of his library, and then draws another card. He then puts another counter on his Nyx Bloom and swings him at Wade in order to become the Monarch. Eric then passes and draws. Wade draws for turn, then casts a Stoneforge Mystic, then plays an untapped Godless Shrine, paying 2 life, before going to get an equipment from his library. He then pays 2 to cast his Swiftfoot Boots. Fogg draws and pays 4 for K'Varr, God of Kinship, drawing a card and creating a Panther token. He then uses Galanor to pay 2 to cast Gulta, Primal Hunger, drawing 2 cards. Fogg then uses his Cradle to cast Azusa, Lost But Seeking, drawing a card and playing an additional 2 lands. He then uses 3 mana to cast Ronacy Indomitable, drawing a card. Fogg then casts Isao, Enlightened Bushi, drawing a card, and passes. Justin draws and plays a Swamp for turn. He then recasts his Commander again and goes to combat, swinging his Cavalier Eric, who doesn't block. This then puts a +1/+1 counter on his creature, and he becomes the Monarch. Eric draws for turn and then casts Nissa, who shakes the world, and an Asceticism. He then uses his Nissa to turn his land into a creature before casting a Chord of Calling for 8 in order to go get a Craterhoof Behemoth to put into play. Eric then goes to combat, putting a counter on his Beast Whisperer. He then swings out with all of his available creatures, and in response, Fogg channels his Beseju to destroy Eric's Asceticism, while Wade casts Release to Memory to exile Justin's graveyard. Blocks are then declared and Wade gets taken out of the game, while Justin goes to 8 life, Fogg goes to 12 life, and Eric becomes the Monarch. Fogg untaps, and before his draw, Eric channels his own Beseju to destroy Fogg's Cradle. Fogg then draws for turn and plays a forest before casting a Bow of Nalia and then paying another 4 for a Questing Beast. Fogg then pays to use Ronus' pump up ability on Gulta and goes to combat, swinging all his available creatures at Eric, taking him down to 5 life, becoming the Monarch. Justin draws and plays a Mana Confluence for turn. He then pays 4 to cast Atsushi the Blazing Sky and another one for an Expedition map. He then goes to combat, swinging his Cavalier at Eric and Marchesa at Fogg. Eric then gets taken out of the game while Fogg blocks with his Questing Beast. Marchesa then dies and comes back into play on his end step. Fogg draws for turn and uses Galanor to cast Kodama of the East Tree, drawing a card and creating a Panther token. He then casts Vivian Stampede, and in response, Justin casts Prismara Command to destroy Fogg's Isao and his Bow of Nalia. Fogg's remaining creatures then get Vigilance, Trample, and Melee, which is enough damage to still take Justin out of the game.
Alright, so we have Fogg Raw with another win. How does it feel to win again?
Feels pretty good to pick up another win, you know. Haters are going to say it's fake. But at this point, it's about the same as walking or breathing. It just comes naturally, you know.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can see more games and decks you wouldn't normally see in your average meta.